And during the few moments that we have left, we want to talk right down to earth in a language that everybody here can easily understand.
The cult of personality. I know your anger, I know your dreams. I've been everything you wanna be. Oh, I'm the cult of personality. Like Mussolini and Kennedy, I'm the cult of personality. The cult of personality. The cult of personality.
You know, sometimes everybody deserves a second chance because time was just not ready for the first time. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting edition of The Game Changer. Of course, live here on Spreaker.com as well as on iTunes, Podomatic, Podbean.com, SoundCloud, and as well as Mr. NTG1990 on YouTube. Oh boy, I have not missed doing that, but got to get those sponsors out there. Ladies and gentlemen, I am indeed your host with the most, Nate the effing Great, and I am being joined here by the Empress of Cosplay, the wonderful, the magnificent Miss VicTori Belle. How are you doing? I know. I slipped the tongue, but I caught myself.
Good at cosplay. What else am I good at?
Oh, jeez Louise. That would just question the last almost year and 3 months has it been of our entire partnership. It's like, what am I doing with my life now? Has this always been the streak I've been on? But no, it's good to have you here, VicTori Belle. How was your wonderful weekend at the Chicago PopCon, I believe it was, right?
It was great. Yeah, it was really fun. Chicago Pop Culture Con is always, it's a smaller show, but it's always, around, after the holidays. So sometimes there's a lot of people out of town. There's a lot of people that don't make it to the show if they're doing other things with their family. But I felt like it had a really good turnout. There was some fun guests. The maker of Rampage was there.
Wow.
And I should know his name, but Rampage, the old video game, an arcade game where you were the wolf or the monkey or the lizard, and you smash buildings and you eat people. They're actually turning it into a movie now with The Rock as the star. And so they were filming, oddly enough, they filmed in Chicago. I missed it, darn it. But the main the maker of the game, the artist of the game was there, and he was showing all of his stuff, all the pictures of him with the movie people, and he said it was really cool that they invited him out onto the set to make sure they were doing the right things with his video game. And it's going to be, the movie's going to obviously be a little different than what the video game was, but in general, he said he was surprised on how much they took from him and how much they really cared that they did the movie to his acceptable level of how he thought his game was. So it was really cool to hear that they came out to Chicago because it was made in Chicago. And they basically, had the same character names, asked his opinions, how he liked the characters to look, and I'm really excited. So I'm glad I got to meet him. He's a Chicago native, so it's cool to, you just figure out more things about the town you come from. Like Mortal Kombat came from Chicago, Rampage came from Chicago. Chicago was a hub in the 70s and 80s for all these amazing video games that we know and love today. So really interesting.
Yeah, it's good to know that the great state of Illinois has brought a lot of things, including the Chicago Bears and Coach Ditka. And apparently most people remember Wisconsin for beer, cheese, and Ed Gein. But we're not going to get into Ed Gein because that's way too dark even for me to even discuss. But what we're talking about today... oh, jeez. Oh, yeah, Ed Gein, one of the most, one of those, I wouldn't say patriotic, but one of the big monarchs when it came to what eventually would wind up to be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and a bunch of other cannibalistic deals. Oh dear God, this is making me very depressing. We're just... and I know you get...
Wisconsin, what do you guys want to do?
We're gonna... Right. Alright, so let's get into what we actually came here to talk about, and that is indeed... Basically, this episode is entitled Second Chances of Fame, because one of the things that we've kind of noticed as years have gone by is that there's been a lot of movies that have, and TV series that have actually been overlooked or just pushed off to the side, and they definitely deserve a little bit more second chances in the limelight. Now, obviously, for Disney, they're doing a lot of different live-action remakes. They've already done, of course, Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella, Pete's Dragon, and with a lot more coming along the way, such as Dumbo, Aladdin. I believe that they are actually also doing Pinocchio as well. But we decided to actually take a few ideas from TV series as well as movies, give you guys the titles, and give our reasons as to why we feel this deserves either a second chance, a reboot, a remake, whatever that we can come up with. And we kind of decided before the show that I am going to be going first, so I'll start off with my TV series. And honestly, this is one that's about, I want to say about maybe 2-3 years ago. I never even heard of this, but a lot of people still want to see this TV series as well as the movie that it turned out to be. I selected Firefly, which would also be the movie of Serenity, one of the best science fiction based, TV series that aired for only one season, and then they had a pretty good box office hit in the theaters as Serenity. They just barely made it to their budget. The box office was still pretty good. A lot of people enjoyed it. I believe that it got an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. Take that for whatever you may. I look at this TV series / movie, and I think a lot of people really still do want to see more of these characters. They want to see Malcolm. They want to see Simon. They want to see, I think his name was, I think it was Pastor Shepherd, I believe his name was. A lot of the other people, including River, and, oh my gosh, my favorite character out of the entire deal was Kaylee. And the funny thing about Kaylee's story was basically she just was this random girl that the original mechanic was just screwing around with. And I'm just like, oh, well, she's not going to serve any purpose. And little did I know, she was going to be the mechanic for Serenity. Basically, she knew what she was doing. And Mel just said, okay, she's in. And original guy, yeah, you're fired. So, bye-bye. Again, one of my favorite moments. And she also had one of my favorite lines where basically she had a thing for Simon, but she was worried that Simon didn't love her back. Eventually, Simon revealed his feelings in the movie, and then she's just like, screw this, I want to live. Oh my gosh, that was just legitimately one of my favorite deals. I want to see this go into either a second season where it takes place after Serenity, maybe even a sequel. I know a lot of people have said, well, it all depends on the work schedule, and this was back in, I think it was like 2008, 2009 when they last talked about this, so it's about almost 10 years since they've actually talked about the sequel. Let's bring this back into conversations, folks. I really want to see Serenity fly again. If they keep a lot of the basic characters, I would definitely keep, Kaylee, River, Simon, even Malcolm in there. Just kind of leave off where Serenity ended and just continue on from there. I legitimately would be okay with that. Even introducing different characters to the fold, totally fine by me, as long as you still give some limelight to the original characters that made Firefly and Serenity the success that it was today. But I don't know, did you ever get a chance to watch Serenity or Firefly?
I actually haven't, and I've only heard amazing things about both. I hear that it's frustrating to watch Firefly because they end only on one season, and people just wanted so much more from it, and they never got it. So, I mean, I think it's a great choice by you. People really want more. They've always wanted more, it sounds like, and they never got it. But maybe one day, now that, I mean, how many space movies came out this year. I can't even count. There's tons of space movies that, missed. Is Firefly not that?
Yeah, Firefly is science fiction, and I was just trying to figure out.
Space, right?
Yeah.
It's a space movie, yeah. So I would think that it would only do, it would do well. Everybody's kind of, it's falling into that new sci-fi everybody's kind of liking. I know I just recently watched Valerian. It's
I know what you're talking about.
Valerian.
Yeah.
He has Valerian or something, and I know there's all the Star Wars movies are coming back out, and what with Passengers, like there was a lot of just like adventures in the unknown space that people were embarking on, and bringing something that they kind of already follow and know, a cult following of Firefly and Serenity, and rebooting it, or rebooting it, I think would be the best thing that they could do to just gain that following again and take it further. I think that's a really smart idea, and I don't know how much fans would like it if they recast it and everything, but I would think it would be the smartest thing for the series, because you'd want to have the same feel of the youngness that these characters were. You don't want to have a guy that's like 50 doing this role. Like, you want it to be able to last those 12 years to give you 3 movies. You don't want the guy all of a sudden have gray hair, he can't do his stunts, and that's always awkward. Sorry.
Well, the interesting thing about that is that they already killed off one of their main characters in the movie. I think they killed off the co-pilot, Wash, if I remember his name correctly. So it'd be one of those situations where it's like, you kind of have to do this reboot if you want this to continue. You have to get some other characters involved in this. So that's kind of my take on that. I do agree with you that I think it'd be risky bringing in some new faces into it, but also people have to remember that, like you said, some people just can't hold on to the same role forever. I mean, Robert Englund is one of the best examples. He recently did like his final appearance as Freddy Krueger at a convention, if I remember, and then after that he was saying, I'm done. So for him, he's thinking smart. I know there's a lot of other people that are still trying to, capture those, 15 minutes of fame that they were in years ago, but it doesn't always work out. I mean, Harrison Ford, love you, man, but I think it was a wise move to have him killed off in Star Wars Force Awakens, and I don't think he's going to be able to do that many Indiana Jones movies.
Right, exactly. Well, he was just a prime example for me, and I feel bad because he's a legend. Obviously, like, everybody loves all of his stuff, but that's what I mean. Like, you would love the actor to continue, but at the same time, it almost hurts your favorite character. Like, Indiana Jones is a freaking amazing character. We love him, and Harrison Ford did an amazing job when he was in his 30s, And now that he's in his 60s, and maybe even 70s, I don't know how old he is. Like, it's like you don't really want him to continue to do that, because you need to pass the torch. People pass the torch for a reason, so that the next generation of people can, like, the kids nowadays that haven't seen Indiana Jones, that go to the theaters, they can follow another guy who they feel is Indiana Jones. You could show them the old ones and see how they like them. Show them the old Firefly, see how they like it too. But when the new stuff comes out, it's kind of nice to pass the torch, but also giving those people who started the fandom a chance to at least appear in the movie. How like Power Rangers did that. How you don't want to cast the people who are in their 40s and 50s as the young kids of Power Rangers again, but showing their faces in the film, just give the fans that connection, and the fans, I think, respect that a lot.
Definitely. And as long as the torch does not get passed to Shia LaBeouf as the next Indiana Jones, I'm good.
I think he dropped that. I think he was throwing it around and saying crazy things.
Yeah. The last thing I need is.
Do it.
I was about to say. Just do it. Realize your dreams. Do it. Know that I'm not the next Indiana Jones. It's like, no, dude, no. Just. You want to do anything? Do it by getting it out of here. All right, so let's move on from that. And all right, so the first movie that I want to see get either remade, rebooted, something like that, is it's an interesting choice because a lot of people were not exactly fond of this movie, but recently I saw a famous YouTuber by the name of The Nostalgia Critic who does a lot of random critiques on movies that either he feels are just, dumb or stupid, or they just don't exactly live up to the hype. One of the movies that he reviewed and that I thought, this could probably be a good movie to actually remake is the movie The Master of Disguise. Now, obviously, when The Master of Disguise came out, it was, oh man, how do I put this? People know what a car wreck looks like. Well, just imagine that in Los Angeles, and then just to top it off, a major bomb just blew the entire car wreck out of there. Because, oh boy, this movie had a lot of really dumb jokes. The characters were very hard to like. You felt like there was just so much ill-forgotten humor. It just felt like a movie that even I would say that the Minions could do better from Despicable Me. And that's saying a lot considering I have bashed the Minions movie a couple times. So, geez. I mean, it also says a lot when Rotten Tomato gives it a 1%, and they say, yeah, I feel like that's still giving them way too much credit. So, it gave it a 1% on Rotten Tomatoes. And even they said, yeah, it was really rough. And it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, this is probably not true because we just kind of calculate everything and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, so basically you're saying you might be giving this movie too much credit. Yeah, pretty much. It's like, okay, fair enough. So for Master of Disguise, I want to see this become a movie where they go into a more serious tone. So how basically I would, aka book it, or how I would write it, is that there are all of these people that are getting, arrested, they're getting jail time, and they don't remember doing anything. They are somehow being proved guilty of whether it be murder or robberies, arson, you name it, they're getting arrested for it. And people are just saying, like, how's this even possible that, somehow you're in two places at the same time? Obviously, that's when you cue a villain who is a master of disguise, and you have somebody else who says, they know this person for a long time. Maybe they can incorporate some kind of ancient mystic power. And not like, Doctor Strange or something like that, but just something where it's kind of one of those things where it's believable, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, this might actually be a little bit out there. You just have a new generation guy basically start learning the key of being a master of disguise. Now, obviously, at first, he'll just, flop and he'll screw up. But as time goes on, he starts, honing his craft. And then when it really counts, he kicks it out of the book. And the reason why I really want to see this is because, geez Louise, we have had so many movies where CGI animation, with especially facial reconstruction deal, where CGI had just made everybody look, younger. They made them look more youthful. Just basically do that. And in all honesty, have that go into this. I mean, maybe one of the Master of Disguises could be dressed up as, Paul Walker for like a few seconds. Have like all these little brief cameos. Maybe you can have, Burt Reynolds or David Hasselhoff just come into this. Basically, it's trying to figure out, who's real, who's fake, and everything in between. Just make it something very serious, but at the same time have a little bit of comedic to it, so that way people don't get so lost into this where it's just like, oh man, this movie is taking itself way too serious. But don't do like stupid humor where it's so slapstick that you honestly think, wow, even my 5-year-old is just saying, Daddy, why did that happen? Just make it just not so low bar. Just make it something that when it happens, it works. That's just my thoughts on it. I don't know. Have you gotten a chance to see Master of Disguise by chance? Have you even heard of this movie?
I have. I don't really remember it. I remember I want to be the Master of Disguise. I remember that, like, goofiness, and he does, like, the turtle stuff and whatnot. I don't remember much else about it. Probably, I mean, to me it was just a dumb comedy. A lot of dumb comedies are enjoyable, and that's kind of they're just enjoyable. They're not like epic movies. Like I've seen a ton of dumb. Like Dude, Where's My Car is a really stupid comedy, but it's you watch it because it's stupid. Like it's like I don't need to commit that much to it. I'll laugh a little bit. It's not gonna really affect me emotionally. It's more of I'm watching it to laugh and see how stupid this movie is. I do think they probably could have done better on Masters of Disguise. It was a weak, like how you were saying, it was pretty weak. So I could see it maybe trying again, but yeah, I don't know. You were thinking still have what's his name? Is it Dana something? Be the guy?
I don't think
Dana.
You know, I would honestly think about recasting as well, because I think that when a lot of people are thinking about Master of Disguise, obviously the first thing they'll think about is indeed his performance in the original Master of Disguise. Maybe they can even change it to a different, title. I mean, Master of Disguise 2 just does seem a little bit weak and far-fetched, and people are going to be like, oh, great, are we going to see more of these random things like, am I not turtly enough for the Turtle Club? But, again, I really just want to see this get, completely rebooted. Maybe even have somebody... I mean, this is far-fetched for me, but I would love to see maybe Andrew Garfield take the role. That would be a bit of an interesting choice.
That would be funny.
I mean, he could still have smarky comments. I mean, he did it in Amazing Spider-Man. That would be, where you can get your comedy in. But I think that Andrew Garfield can still play a serious actor. Where, I mean, Hacksaw Ridge. I saw that movie and I thought to myself, oh wow. He can definitely take a serious role and just knock it out of the park. So that would be one of my first people that I would probably go to. I think would be good for the main lead, whether it be the hero, or maybe even they can take a risk. Maybe have Andrew Garfield be the villain. Maybe he's an ungrateful brat who's just realizing that he's more. He thinks he's more worth in the world than what a lot of people have really given him, and now he's just using this to get back at all those people that may have laughed at him or just criticized him. And honestly, I think it'd be one of those things that would be interesting, because it probably would be one of those things where it's well, he did get criticized for this, so man, that's like taking a shot at Sony right there. Totally okay with that. Or he's getting teased because he didn't do well in this role or this role and this role. Just kind of make those little. Sneak in those little lines where it just feels like, oh, they take me as a smart-ass teenager. They take me as a mature adult, blah, 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 that kind of deal. Where it's you bring some reality to it, but you're still keeping it in the fictional world that they're in. Something like that. I don't know. It's a little far-fetched. It may be a little far out there, but I say give it a shot.
Yeah, why not?
So, the final movie that I picked out, originally... I was going to do Ultraman Tiga, which was actually a TV series in America for a while, and I thought, well, geez, they need to really do something great with this. It was very high in Japan. It looked really amazing. Why not just, give this a reboot? I found out they did earlier this year. They actually had a limited showing called Ultraman X, showing mainly in the South, and it's well, there goes my... it's basically, it's a really... unique version of Power Rangers, but instead of the guy, turning into actual... he turns into a Power Ranger, but giant size, and he battles giant monsters, stuff like that.
Okay.
It's solely based more in the I think more in Japan, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But yeah, after I found out about that, I was okay, well, I need to figure out something else. Well, I mean, let's see what Disney...
One of mine was kind of like that too, but I was kind of thinking I still want to say it.
Well, when we get to you, I'm definitely very interested in hearing what you have to say. But yeah, I thought to myself, well, is there any other Disney remakes that they have either considered, or maybe something that it may have gone, past the radar? And I looked at the movie that was released in 1985, which was The Black Cauldron. I remember watching that as a kid thinking, man, this is actually really good. And actually the weird thing was that it got released in 1985, but if my memory serves me correctly, it didn't come out on home video until 1995. It waited about 10 years before it finally came out on home video. So that was like, wow, that's interesting. But of course, it was rough in the box office. I think it was like maybe just under the budget that they had, because it was like $44.3 million just for the animation alone. So it's like, wow, this movie definitely should hopefully do well. But then I actually found out the Black Cauldron is actually based on a series of novels that actually came out in I think it was again the early 1900s. And Black Cauldron was, I think, only the second novel of this entire, I think it was a 6-part trilogy. I looked at them thinking, okay, well, let's see what we got here. We got well, these novels did pretty well for themselves. And the reason why I would also love to see Black Cauldron kind of get a little bit of reboot, maybe more focused on these novels, is that it's a prime example of what happens when you take a novel and you try to still keep the same concept, but you add so much of your new material. I mean, even the author, I think it was Lloyd Anderson, I think was his name. I'm gonna actually go double check on that. He basically stated that it's one of those movies that you still find reason to enjoy, but basically he says if you read the book, you're definitely going to see that there's a lot of difference to it. So it's like something that I hope people can go in, watch it, and enjoy it. But at the same time, just know that that it's definitely that. Lloyd Alexander. Okay, I was completely off with the author. Yeah, basically, here's what his quote was exactly. He says, "First, I have to say there is no resemblance between the movie and the book. Having said that, the movie in itself, purely as a movie, I found to be very enjoyable. I had fun watching it. What I would hope is that anyone who sees the movie would certainly enjoy it, but I'd also hope that they'd actually read the book. The book is quite different. It's a very powerful, very moving story, and I think people would find a lot more depth in the book." So, like I said, this was basically a part of a 6-part deal. I think it was. Oh no, it's a 5-book deal. It was actually called the Chronicles of Predane. I'm hoping I'm saying that name right. But yeah, it's basically just a little bit more of an expansion of what you know in the Black Cauldron. Still a lot of the same characters. Taran as the assistant pig keeper, wanting to think about doing more grander things, being a big hero. They still have Princess Alonwe, Fluder Flam. Oh my gosh, that's a name that I just can't help but laugh at. I don't know if you ever saw the movie, but Gurgi was honestly one of my absolute favorite characters in that entire movie. It was basically a knockoff of Gollum, but it was just so funny. I
remember us talking about the Black Cauldron before, and it's funny because I was re-evaluating some of the movies that we talked about before that we really liked, the oldies that people maybe haven't seen. I think it's funny that we kind of went back to that in some of our, because I had like 3 of them on here, and I had to reevaluate my choices because I'm like, I can't have all 3 of the movies I've already said that you need to go watch be remade. But no, yeah, the Black Cauldron was interesting. I remember it being like a little dark and stuff with kids, but yeah, I would think it would be an interesting one for Disney to do a live action of. It would definitely be. I mean, when you actually have humans in a cartoon, you always can make it into a live action, especially now with the special effects that we have, which is weird. That's why doing a live action version of The Lion King is very interesting to me, because there's no humans, so live action just means better CGI. But I mean, we'll see. I'm excited for that. But yeah, I could see Black Cauldron being remade, and it could be a PG-13. It doesn't have to be. I think Disney's kind of turned itself on its head. Like, okay, PG-13's okay now for Disney, and like especially with the Marvel ones, like it's okay for us to not always be totally 110% kid friendly, because adults are so into it now that it's almost cutting off a part of your income if you don't supply content for adults. So I think they could make it into a less of a kid movie and kind of just amp up the darkness. I would be nervous that they would put Tim Burton in charge of it. I could see that.
You know, now that you mention it, that would be kind of one of those things that I'd be kind of worried about too. But I don't know. It's a very interesting movie because here's the thing: is that there have not really been too many movies that have actually gone back to like the medieval times, the Dark Ages, whatever you like to call it. And of course, a lot of people when they think about Dark Ages or medieval times, the first thing that comes to mind, King Arthur. Yeah. Why not actually create something else that could remind you of, what the Dark Ages were, what it was like for them going back. And just, the Chronicles would be a really good set of books just to really create into movies. And, of course, people are saying, like, oh, but it's going to be 5 movies. You're not complaining about the fact that Star Wars is almost going on 8 movies right now. 8 plus, I should say.
Lord of the Rings did, like, the same thing. So
that is true.
It's not like it hasn't been done. So it definitely would be a possibility.
I would be all for it, but that's one of those things that remains to be seen, and I think that I will end on this note by saying, if they do it, great. If it's not picked up by Disney, then I'm hoping somebody else has the smarts to make this into something worthwhile seeing, and not do, like 4 or 5 versions, like they did with Tarzan, where it's like, oh, Tarzan's coming out on DVD. Oh, we're also doing Hercules. It's like, this is not what I envisioned when Hercules was coming out. I preferred the Disney one, and I'm hoping that, Disney does a live-action remake of that. I think that'd be amazing.
Same. That would be great. Especially with all the great music in that. Are you kidding me?
And also, just keep James Woods as Hades. There's nobody else that would play him as well. If there's just this guy in like a green suit, just keep James Woods as the voice actor. Just keep it like that. I don't care what anybody says. But I think I've done enough talking about stating my cases. Now turn it over to VicTori Belle. What are your 3 selections that you have made for this that hopefully are going to get a reboot or a second chance at life?
Okay, well, first, like I said, I was flirting with a lot of the options that I said I wanted people to go and view and see. So one of that options, which is funny that you said, like the medieval stuff, I had 2 medieval stuff, because I don't know, Hollywood's kind of been failing on that front. Like all of the Snow White and the Huntsman stuff were kind of supposed to be like medieval, like knights and armor and stuff, and I'm going to be honest, those movies fell short for me. Like, they were not good. They weren't bad, but they weren't good, and they probably spent a ton of money on them. And I know they just rebooted it. I think King Arthur came out this year, and no one went to see it because it had horrible reviews. I haven't seen it, and I bet they spent a ton of money, but they just did something wrong. I don't know what. I didn't see it, so I can't say that it was a horrible movie. I'm just going off of the sales and what people told me, like, not worth your 2 hours. Don't do it.
Right.
So one of the movies I thought I was going to pick was Dragonheart, which I already talked an immense amount about. And I just thought that it was going to be just too much of a repetition for people, but I do think Dragonheart would have been cool, and it would have been in the knights in shining armor era. And Dragonheart has been continuously getting sequels. Like, they actually just did another sequel, I think like a year or 2 ago, but they just haven't ever put money towards it. So they're always like, I've seen some of the sequels too. They're not awful movies. They obviously didn't put money into it. Like, the dragon never looks that good. Like, the CGI isn't that great. So I think if they really wanted to do it right, they would reboot number 1 and put a lot of money to it. But that's not my choice, so sorry.
Okay. Well, hold on. Before we go any further, was it almost like almost like Sci-Fi Network animation, or was it kind of like just?
Yeah. So it's not like
no.
awful. It's just it's lacking the connection of the humans that are actually there and the animated creature that isn't there. And nowadays everybody's a critic for that because you can tell. You're
Okay.
like, well, you didn't really look that good. You didn't look in his eyes. Like, why didn't you look into his eyes? Why are you staring at his chest the whole time?
Right.
Like, but okay, don't be mad at me, but this is the one I decided to choose. And don't be mad at me because I wasn't thinking of you when I chose it.
Oh boy.
This is actually already getting a reboot. It was announced, I think, a month or two ago at a comic convention. Spawn is the one I chose. So don't be mad at me because I know I remember you talked a little bit about Spawn in one of your Facebook things, but
That's right.
Yeah, Spawn is a great movie. I forget who is it. Who was the actor? Michael J. White was the actor in it, and he did a fantastic job, even though he's not in it much because it's mostly, I think, a cartoonish version of him because Spawn wears a mask. He's all messed up underneath. But Spawn is a comic book. It was based off of a comic book. He's, betrayed and murdered by his employer, and then he gets killed, and he comes back as a reluctant soldier of the devil who fights all these evil demons that are trying to take over, the world. This was during, the Ghostbuster times, like when this, I think, was most popular, or, maybe after that. But it reminded me a little bit about how Ghostbuster animation, like they used some puppets, they used a lot of makeup to try to make people look scary, and then the CGI just wasn't there. You can watch it now and you'll still you'll appreciate it for what it was, but I could imagine them turning this into just an epic superhero film like they have been doing to a lot of the superheroes. Spawn in general Spawn is one of the first African American superheroes out there he's really, really a dark character and goes through a really dark story arc, but it kind of is, I think it would be enlightening to people to see a superhero, kind of how Deadpool was a little enlightening. People are like, wow, I like Deadpool. He's not like anyone else. I think people would find that same aspect of Spawn being wow, he's not dark like Batman dark. He's his own type of I'm from the devil, almost like Hellboy too, but Hellboy is a little, goofier than Spawn. Spawn is scary. Spawn scared me when I was a kid. And so I think the horror fanatics would really enjoy a reboot of him too. And like I said, it was announced that I think in 2019 they're going to actually do this. I don't have any cast, but I think it would be incredible. I feel like it'd be good to have one of our, the strong characters from the superhero movies, kind of be him. I could see Idris Elba, but I think it would just be so, a given that Idris Elba would be a great person to, throw into this role. But I think we could probably have someone else pick up the torch, maybe an unknown guy pick up the torch and start doing things so we don't have just reoccurring this strong, amazing black guy was in all the superhero movies. We can give another guy a chance. And be a dark, crazy Spawn. But yeah, so that would be my first choice in a movie reboot. And apparently they are already doing it. But I just wanted to say it's exciting to me.
Yeah, I just looked at the article that said in July that they already started talking about who was going to direct it, who was going to produce it.
Yeah.
I think they said that the group or the the production studio that's going to be doing it. I think they said it was going to be Blumhouse, if I'm not mistaken. Let me pull that up again. Production company of Blumhouse, which is also part of the control of the producer, which is Jason Blum. Huh? How funny. But yeah, well, let me just state that it's not you that I'm mad at. It was the people that just kept criticizing me for saying that I didn't know who Spawn was. They just
Spawn is a lesser known hero. So,
well,
anti-hero, maybe, I don't know.
Well, apparently he was well known in central Wisconsin, and I just didn't know about it.
Well, I mean, a lot of comic book nerds would know about it, but if you're not that big on comic books, I mean, it's not like, again, his movies were made 20 years ago. Like, if you haven't heard of him, it's okay to not hear of people. It would be worse if you didn't hear of them and you hated them for not hearing about them. That would be a problem.
There we go.
Just not hearing about someone and learning about new superheroes. I feel like it's good to teach people about things that they don't know and see if they can have an opinion for themselves. But I think if you saw Spawn, and you could obviously go see the old movie, which didn't get great reviews, but it had a cult following. You could definitely have an opinion for yourself, but I mean, it would just be. I'm excited for when they make the new one, and I hope that it's still kind of scary, because I think that's what made it all the better, is that the villains. You didn't like the villains in this one because they were just gross looking and disgusting, and it was great. And I hope they don't try to do like the whole low key, like, ooh, maybe they'll fall in love with the villain too. No.
They're going to fall in love with like this alien like looking creature from Aliens, and then a predator like looking deal. It's like, oh, dude, that's a little bit uncomfortable, but. But I know one person that we know that would like it if they did have like a predator looking creature. She'd be all over that and be like, oh my god, that's a predator. I'd be like, that's not a predator, that's just some lookalike of the predator, in all honesty.
Oh, yes, Celeste.
Shout out to you, Celeste, we love you. Alright. Yeah, but honestly, I look at it like what Spawn basic, but from what you've told me. And I'm actually looking at Wikipedia from what they said, what his abilities are. I look at that, I'm thinking, yeah, I say go for it. I say let's do it. I actually do want to kind of see this. And I'm noticing that it's not exact. Oh wait, no, it isn't. Is Spawn part of Marvel or DC, or is he a?
No, he's his own comic book.
Okay.
Let me see. They Image comic.
Oh, okay.
So they're relatively big. They're not like Dark Horse is another one that people don't really hear of, and I believe Dark Horse is where Hellboy came out of. But Image comics are big, but they're not like well known. Again, like if you know comic books, you'll know of Image comics. But if you don't know comic books, there's no way you'll know about them.
Gotcha.
Really like Spawn. Maybe you do. But yeah, he comes from a different comic book giant, or mini giant, we'll call it.
Okay.
But definitely really interesting. And like I said, it would give you a different take of what someone would consider a hero. It's kind of like if you mixed Hellboy and the Punisher, and then I don't even know who else to add, but there's a few remnants of all of that. How the Punisher, how he was murdered his family was murdered. It's like, oh, he's murdered. I guess the Crow, Mr. Crow, and Punisher and Hellboy all together, and you get a Spawn, and it's really good.
Holy crap! I just had to look on my Netflix to see if I've had it. Is the movie entitled Spawn the movie?
I believe so. I thought it was just called Spawn, but maybe there's multiple of it too. There's, I think, 3 other sequels.
Okay.
So,
okay. Because I just found the one that's entitled Spawn the movie that was released in '97. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna have to look into that later.
Yeah, that one popped up on Wikipedia, but I'm pretty sure it was made later, and the Spawn the movie might be a reboot, the first try.
Okay. I might have.
Make sure you look up the original Spawn first.
Okay. All right. I think I can do that. All right.
Yeah.
So on to number 2, which is either TV series or movie, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'll finish my movies off first.
Okay.
So this is where I was saying why another reason why I wanted to take Dragonheart off is because I did kind of have another medieval movie that was going to take its place, and I did already talk about this one too. So I kept this one in just because a lot of people don't know about it, and the people who do know about it are fans because they loved it. And it's the 1982 The Last Unicorn, which was an animated feature. I talked about it before. On the movies that I feel like people should see. I think this would be a really fun movie to see a live action version of and to just give it a reboot because, it got like a 7.5 out of 10 on the reviews when people go back and review it, and it came out so long ago and had some, good songs within it that I think I don't think Disney would pick it up, but it would give like a Disney vibe to whoever did pick it up. It's about, this medieval world, and kings and knights and unicorns and monsters. Like, I think people would really like it. Wizards are in there too. A lot of common themes that you see people nowadays really getting drawn to. So I feel like I've explained it before, but if you didn't hear it, it's about this unicorn being the last of her kind and how this King Haggard, wants to destroy all unicorns because they could possibly stop him from taking over his kingdom. So he has this enchanted bowl, like the red bowl, like force all the unicorns into the sea to be lost to the sea forever. And she's never, this unicorn is the last of her kind, and unicorns are considered, very lonely creatures in general. So she goes on, a mission to find her fellow unicorns, and in her mission, she, gets friends, and a wizard becomes her friend, and a female who was, under slavery becomes her friend, and she's freeing all these people of these things because she's a powerful unicorn, and she eventually has to go and face King Haggard and his army and his bowl, and it's great. It's a great adventure. And, back in the day, there were people who you know as these voices, and Jeff Bridges was one of them. He was the prince who, the unicorn falls in love with. And Mia Farrow was the unicorn. She sang a lot. Christopher Lee was King Haggard, who, if you know Count Dooku, that's the same actor. So they had some big names that were voice actors in this, but it just didn't, it just was very small and didn't really get released in the big scheme of things. But I think if they redid it and kind of made it into more of an adult film and less of a possible kids movie, even though it was pretty scary, the animation was kind of had that Black Cauldron feel. It came out at the time of the Black Cauldron, so definitely a little scary. But yeah, I think people would like it.
I've seen something that was like, well, okay. In all fairness, the only exposure that I've had with The Last Unicorn was during an episode of Robot Chicken where she basically was saying oh, it's such a troublesome time to be the last unicorn. She's making it seem like she's all by herself, and then this other unicorn just comes up, and he's just like, oh, hey, I didn't realize that there was another unicorn with you. And then she just kills him, and he's like, oh, it's a pain to be the last unicorn. And I'm like, wow. Well.
Not how don't ever take Robot Chicken as something that explains the movie.
Oh, no. That was just one of those things where it's like, well, I've never really seen this, so I guess that would just be, okay, that's a little dark. Okay, then, we're dealing with that. But then I'll probably be watching Last Unicorn, and I'll just be like, oh, please, let me just see this unicorn just kill that male unicorn, and then I'll say Robot Chicken was right. Then the credits roll, I'll be like, damn it. No,
yeah, it's really pretty. The animation, I don't know who did it, but it's very pretty. But when they create monsters, they get really detailed to where they're scary. So
dang, nice.
What worth a watch, and I think it would be really cool if instead of rated G, which I think back in 1982, if it was released today, it would be rated PG at the least. Because they even say, like, damn and hell and stuff, and you're like, whoa. But, 1982, they had different regulations. But
they were a little more lenient back then, but...
Yeah, they didn't realize what they were doing. But yeah, I think it would be fun. It would be cool.
Well, it's good to know we're kind of on the same page when it comes to, like, medieval times. We're just like, we need more medieval movies. Bring them back, please. But we got King Arthur. That doesn't count.
It's weird because of how Game of Thrones is so successful, and that is kind of, I feel like Game of Thrones is based in, like, a medieval setting, a world of dragons, knights, armor, no guns and stuff, which is a fun realm to watch and view and see the limitations of it. It's weird how there hasn't been a big box office hit that has done medieval settings for a while. I can't think of any. I might be skipping over, but I just know that they've tried and they were really bad. So something.
Well, I think that you're trying to think of other ones that do not have the name Dragonheart in them because.
Well, yeah, and I guess you could consider. I guess you could consider Lord of the Rings, and they did a really good job. But yeah. I just would think Lord of the Rings is trying to be like its own fantasy, where like the knights and the dragons and stuff is fantastical with the mythical beasts, but
whimsical.
I think they're trying to. I think it's a different category than elves, orcs, and dwarves and all that.
Yeah, I get you.
But yeah. So do you want me to go on my last one?
Yeah, because I think I definitely do think that the idea of The Last Unicorn, A, would be great because A, we get another medieval movie, and B, hey, it's something for the kids. I mean, obviously, I think the Chronicles would probably be more PG-13, and I think the only other point I would have with that was that since Pirates of the Caribbean is probably going to be wrapping up soon, and unless they decide to actually, fade away from Jack Sparrow and a lot of the other people, there's got to be something that takes its place. Why not throw the Chronicles in there? Why not throw medieval times in there? So with, Last Unicorn, it'd be kind of like a well-balanced deal where it's like, the adults, we have Chronicles, and, the kids, they got The Last Unicorn. I say go for it. But yes, what is your last final selection?
Yeah, so I'm really excited about this one. I think this would be great. So, have you ever heard of gargoyles?
Yes! Yes!
Yes! Would that not be amazing right now, like, to reboot it? They're rebooting all that, like, they rebooted Ninja Turtles again. And Ninja Turtles has that feel that Gargoyles kind of does, except Ninja Turtles is super goofy. Where Gargoyles, and I don't know if you've watched it, but it was by Walt Disney Television.
Yep.
So I already know Disney could easily take this. When all the other two that I did, Disney does not own. So I'm not thinking Disney movies for those two. I'm thinking just good movies over there. I'm thinking Disney to get this and do it right. And Gargoyles touched on a lot of sensitive subjects, like acceptance of other people, of differences, corruption and all that. Like, it was really intense without being super intense, because as a kid you didn't notice it, but when you rewatch it, like I've rewatched just a little bit. I wish it was on Netflix or something, or I would binge watch it just to have a good cartoon day. But yeah, it really touched on some things that you're like, I can't believe that they were giving you those things when you were just a child. Like, what the heck? But yeah, it's basically about New York gargoyles, coming to life at night to fight crime. So it would be really close to like how Monsters Ninja Turtles did it, but I think it could really take its own, have its own wings and stuff on this and be really cool. And I think a lot of people really liked that cartoon. It ran for 3 seasons and, just kind of teetered off, but I mean, I know they're on YouTube. You could watch it all on YouTube. But I just think this would be really cool to remake it and make the gargoyles on one of the buildings in New York just come to life and set us in that scene of the world. It would be great. I think it would be really cool.
Legitimately, if they made that into like a live action movie, and like one of the first few things you hear is like that original tone for the Gargoyles theme song, and then you hear Goliath do that narration. Can you imagine how many people would just be explode? It's like, we're trying to watch this movie, but so many people would just be blown up. It's like, yes, we finally got it. We got a Gargoyles movie, live action. I love it. You may have hit a gold mine with that one.
I want it to be a movie. I don't want it to be a TV series.
Okay.
So, for sure. But
yeah, I think if you even made it into a live action series, that'd probably cost a little more. But make it like into a
they would skimp out on a few things. I think it wouldn't be as good of CGI when now we have that CGI that could be. I mean, it could be really cool.
It would just be. Oh gosh, I'm just. There may be a part of me that's going to be thinking about this while I'm working tonight, and might break me down to tears. Like, oh, that's so beautiful. I want this so much. I want to make a petition where it's just like petition for Gargoyles live action movie. Walt Disney, get on it. Just please.
Yeah. You know, have all. I mean, you wouldn't have to. Like, it's all right there. Like, have all of the characters. Have Demona. Have Goliath. Have the detective. I think Elisa or something.
Yeah, I think so.
The billionaire corrupted David Santos and Brooklyn. All these, like, they have everybody right there. We want them all. They all were great characters. They all brought something to the scene. And now all you'd have to do is cast it right. And I swear to God, if Megan Fox gets in this movie, I will freak out. I do not Megan Fox in this movie. I can't believe she was in Ninja Turtles. It's all. What's his face? Who's the director of Bay? Michael Bay. Ugh. If Michael Bay touches this, I will freak out too. Disney, do not take this. Hurry, take this before Michael Bay does.
It's one of those things where it's like, Michael Bay directs it, I'm out. Megan Fox is in it, I'm out.
He just does. I don't know about you, but you know, Michael Bay has had his hands in Ninja Turtles. He's had his hands in Transformers. I don't know if he did anything with Jurassic World. I don't think he has. I think that was a
highly doubt it.
thing. But
I'm gonna look right now just to verify.
Yeah, just bringing those two up. Those are two classic cartoons that we all loved as kids. He might have done Power Rangers too. I want to know if he did that.
You did.
But this is in the same category, I feel, as Transformers and Ninja Turtles when it comes to the rebooting a cartoon series into a live-action, big box office budget film. And Michael Bay hasn't been very successful in this. I know we could say, like, oh, well, Transformers that has had so many sequels and yada yada. I think at the beginning Transformers was decent, but I think people were starting to see what Michael Bay does, which is big explosions, big fights, big destruction, and I don't think it resonated with everyone. I think that Transformers had a bit more in them than just let's keep destroying and blowing up a lot of things. That's what Michael Bay does, and Michael Bay likes to throw in this. I don't know if I want to call them what I want to call them right now, but I'm going to just throw it out there and say they're kind of like just pieces of eye candy for like his target audience of males. And like, so he chose Megan Fox and he chose like the Rosalind or something. He chooses them to be like key aspects of the movies when they're not. Like in Transformers, it's like we would get shots of Megan Fox just like looking up at the like slow motion, and you just see her looking up at the Transformer. It's like, that's not what it's about. That is not what it's about. Stop it. And especially Ninja Turtles, like, she is not April O'Neil at all. I hate that casting, and it would probably be a better movie without someone like her being April O'Neil. Like, April O'Neil is not the hot piece of ass. she is the crazy good journalist who helps the Ninja Turtles do their job.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's not even like a feminist thing for me. Like, this Gargoyles has a hot detective that is strong and empowering and helps the Gargoyles do their job. So, and she even looks like Megan Fox. That's why I had to say this.
Right.
Do not freaking do that. I will freak out. Just because Megan Fox has that stigma to her, as much as she possibly could be an amazing actress, I feel like they sadly have used her as a hot piece of ass so much that when I see her in something, especially when it's Michael Bay, it just seems like she's just there to, like, look at my face and my pouty lips and look at what I'm doing right now. Like, ooh, I'm so pretty. When it's like, I want them to just be a strong female. Like, I want her to be attractive, obviously. Like, she is, and you know, she has a love interest in this, so she should be attractive. But they don't have to cast her just to be attractive. She needs to be multidimensional. Like, let's not, don't throw a stereotypical actress at this. We need a good one.
Yeah. All right. So, well, a couple of things. A, thank God that Michael Bay had nothing to do with Jurassic World, even though a lot of us, even though with all those explosions, probably people would have been like.
That's what I kind of got. I was like, did he do that? But I thought it was a Spielberg thing.
No, it's Steven Spielberg. I looked at like the entire listing and like producers, executive producers, everything like that. It's like no mention of Michael Bay. Thank God. B, I do agree with you that. Well, actually, my B point will be that I do know a lot of the stereotypical stuff that Michael Bay has done. In fact, I think I did 2 episodes worth of where I basically took a list of what people thought of Michael Bay, gave my thoughts on them, and presented them in at least a productive kind of way. I didn't like try to bash Michael Bay in any way, but it's one of those things where it's like, well, yeah, you kind of notice this, that, you know, when it comes to women, they're kind of more the eye candy. They're kind of more just there for show, to say the least. There's too much explosions, not so much character development, just a lot of different issues. And 3, this would be a long shot. I would honestly love it if Disney could try to get this actress to play the detective. It would be a very long shot. But, you know, you mentioned somebody who's, you know, strong-willed, very, I guess you could say, independent. Really, though, I think there's only one woman that fits the bill when it comes to that. I was thinking of Gail Gadot, yep. In all honesty, it's one of those things where it's like, see Gail Gadot playing her. I could see that. Disney, it might cost you a little bit because she's a part of the DC universe, but go for it. Go for it.
I mean, I wouldn't say that would be a bad casting, but I couldn't see it ever happening because she's now Wonder Woman.
Right.
Like, you don't want to... When you have, like, as an actor, when you have such a pivotal role, it's actually sometimes harder to cast you again as something else that you want to reboot or start up because they have such attachments to that. So if she did stuff that people are like, whoa, I don't like that. Oh, Wonder Woman, no. And you're like, what? Like, why are you calling her Wonder Woman? She's not Wonder Woman. She's a different person. She's an actress. She does different things. And then you're like, oh no, like there's those fans that are going to be attached to the character because they like the character so much.
Right.
So it just wouldn't be smart for the movie to attach her, but I 100% agree that she would be an awesome, like, Elisa Tech. Like, she would be amazing at it, but just because she's such a pivotal role as Wonder Woman, it probably wouldn't be good. Because, like, I'll watch stuff. I don't know if you've ever seen The Man from U.N.C.L.E., the reboot of that old TV series. Henry Cavill is in it.
Okay.
And Armie Hammer, which I enjoy both of them. And it's a great movie. I really liked the movie a lot. But every time I saw Henry Cavill, I even would say, oh, Superman, come on, blast him. Superman, use your powers. How are you getting beat up right now? And it's just funny, and I'm like, wow, I really do just think of him as Superman a lot. Whenever I see anything, I'm like, Superman. And it would be like a blessing and like a curse, I guess, to do that type of acting, to be such a pivotal character, because like some people do kind of like now just see you as that.
Right. Yeah, and I guess to my point, to add on to that a little bit even more, I will admit that Octavia Spencer, whenever I saw her appear in the movie Hidden Figures, there were so many times where throughout that movie, all I was thinking to myself was, I'm waiting for her to just walk up to one of these people and just say, "Eat my shit," because that was like her pivotal line from The Help. And also throughout that movie, I thought to myself, well, in all honesty, I would not blame her if she probably said that line throughout that movie, because it's one of those things where it's like, well, this is kind of dealing with a lot of, segregation and whatnot. So, yeah, if she went out on a limb and just threw that line in there just for the hell of it, I would have been like, you know what, keep it in the movie. I don't care. Some of these people are being a bunch of stupid idiots anyway. So just let her say it. Just let her say it. But it'd probably copyright by The Help. You know what? It'd probably be worth the money. And so many people would be like, "Oh my gosh, she said that from The Help. That's funny." And plus, it works in this scenario. But that's just me. So yeah, I think that wraps it up. In all honesty, these were really good selections. I cannot, for the life of me, right now, think of any better selections here. You mentioned a lot of really great, movies as well as TV series that it's like, yes, now I kind of really want this. Let's see it happen. And, the stuff that I brought in, it's like, okay, this would actually be really, really good. And again, now I got something to look forward to, because the Lois Chronicle books that I was talking about, I've already put them on my wish list for Amazon. It's like, well, hopefully around Christmas time I can get all 5 of these books and I can get to reading these, and then I can say whether or not, probably by knowing my schedule, maybe this time next year, I'll be able to at least read all 5 of those books and be like, you know what, I stand by my statement. Or I'll be like, okay, maybe this is too risky. Maybe we shouldn't do that. Because the novels themselves I actually done pretty well. I think they got a couple of author awards and whatnot. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, it's good. Is it worth taking the risk? I don't know. I need to read the books first. This is one of the few times where people hear me actually say, I want this to happen, but I also want to read the books so that way we don't run into this issue. But we'll see.
Yeah. You should see if they're on Audible, so that when you're driving or whatnot, you could... And I don't want to take away from book reading, because obviously I'm an avid book reader, so I love book reading. But the one thing I feel like is the negative about reading a book is that you never have time, or when you do want to read it, it's at night, and I always fall asleep. And you lose your page, and you're like, dang it, no. Or now I'm trying to read on Kindle a little more, so that when I fall asleep, it's just like, oh, my phone saved it for me. But what I love is I've started, like I said, I got really into Audible, and I've put a lot of Audible books on my wish list too for Christmas, just like self-help books and stuff like that, so that while I'm driving to work, which is like an hour commute, like you just listen to your Audible, and it's like you can read in the car then. And it's interesting if you have a lot of long car rides or whatnot, it's kind of really cool to feel like you're actually doing something that's entertainment. Like, obviously you don't want to watch TV or something in the car. That's very dangerous.
Right.
So having a book being read to you by, like, on Audible, where they have professional, like, actors or whatnot reading your book, it's almost like you're watching a movie, but it's the book you've been wanting to read. So just throwing it out there. If you have long car rides, or you have a certain amount of time you have to go there and back, like, I'll have a book that lasts me about 7 or 8 hours, so when I'm going there and back to St. Louis, I can get it done, get it out of the way, and being like, yes, I read a book on this trip too, even though I didn't really read it, but always fun.
There we go. All right, well, a little cheap plug for audible.com. In all honesty, if I can get a sponsorship with them, that'd be amazing. But not going to jump to any conclusions right now. If that bridge happens, then awesome. If we don't get to that bridge, then, well, we'll still plug them anyway, every now and then. All right, so with that, I think we can conclude this episode of the Game Changer. Of course, as always, Victory Belle, it's always fun having you on. Really good selections, by the way. They were absolutely mind-blowing as well as intriguing. It's now one of those things where it's like, okay, now if I found, the Spawn movie from 1997, check that out. I'll have to look at some other ones. Last Unicorn, let's see if I can find that there. Then Gargoyles, yes, I want live action.
Right. No, I thought you would enjoy it. I always think about it. I always think about it hard.
Well, except
I like the choices too. The only one I probably wouldn't watch is The Master of Disguise if it got rebooted. But other than that, just because I'm just not into that. But
yeah, fair
other
enough.
than that, I would love to see Firefly because I've heard such good things about it, and of course the Black Cauldron I liked too. So.
Well, there we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, of course, you can always follow Miss Victory Belle on her Twitter at VictoryClark04. You can also give her a like on Facebook, facebook.com/VictoriBelleCosplay, which is also her handle for Instagram. So, in case you would like to see more pictures of her, and honestly, geez Louise, she does a fantastic job with her costumes. Definitely look at those. You can also follow me on Twitter at RealFNGame. I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast where you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Changing Up the Game. Also check us out on so many other different handles, including Spreaker.com, our main handle here. So before we go, any announcements as far as your cosplay goes, Miss Victory Belle? Do you have any big events coming up or any major projects that your fans can really kind of sink their teeth into and kind of just relish at the fact, I guess I could say?
Well, I am going to possibly be going to another convention in December. Right now, I might not be able to make it out there, but I am at least going to plug them because I think they do a good job. It's PocketCon, which is at the Chicago Cultural Center on Washington Street, which is literally the heart of the city. So it's an actual Chicago convention. It's called PocketCon, and it celebrates characters of color, and then it just invites a lot of people to come out. It's more of a free convention that people come in if you want to donate some books to charity. They really appreciate that. And then they just, they have a one-day con that people celebrate. They have a costume contest. It's all the fun of a normal con wrapped up in 6 hours, 12 to 6 p.m. in downtown Chicago. So it's just a cool con. I don't know if I'll be able to come this year. I went last year, but if I don't make it out there, I at least want to let other people know that it is still happening. And if you're interested in going to a con in downtown Chicago, you should do it.
Sweet. So definitely go check out the PocketCon in December. Now, some of the things that are actually coming up on the Game Changer for the foreseeable future, obviously, we are wrapping up the year, and December is just around the corner. I mean, literally, it's this Friday where we start December. My God, where has this year gone? And in all honesty, geez Louise, I think the main thing I'm looking forward to is indeed Star Wars The Last Jedi, so I got to plug that a little bit. Go check it out. It's in theaters December 14th, I believe it is. That sounds about right. I will be hopefully seeing it on maybe that Sunday or maybe even opening night. Who knows? Maybe I'll change the pace up just a little bit. But what does that mean for the Game Changer? Well, of course, we have the 12 days of booking that I will be doing as a mini-series for next month. Definitely a month-long deal where you can check out a lot of the bookings that I'll be doing for professional wrestling, so check that out. For the wrestling part as well, we'll be going through like year-end awards, talking about stuff that's going on throughout the year. And also for myself and Victory Belle, we're actually going to be doing a series where we're going to actually be picking out some of the best moments of this year, whether it's personal moments that we have realized, as well as moments from maybe movies, talking about the movies throughout the year, just so many different things to talk about in this year alone. Again, 2017 has just been absolutely wonderful, and it just means that 2018 is going to have to try and top that. Although, in all fairness, they do have Infinity War as well as a couple other movies next year, so it's like, well, it's not going to be too hard for 2018 now, is it? Well, we'll just have to wait and find out. So, guys, for Victory Belle, I have been Nate the Effing Great. This has been The Game Changer. We will see you guys in the next episode. Adios.
Bye-bye.
My eyes are open wide by By the way, I made it through the day. I watched the world outside. By the way, I'm leaving out today. I just saw Haley's comments your way. Said, why you always running in place? Even the man in the moon disappeared. Somewhere in the stratosphere. Tell my mother, tell my father, I've done the best I can to make them realize this is my life. I hope they understand. I'm not angry, I'm just saying, sometimes goodbye is a second chance. Please don't cry one tear for me. I'm not afraid of what I have to say. This is my one and only voice, so listen close. It's only for today.